Hi, welcome to GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. This is my initial review of the Spektrum DX7 Gen 2, Generation 2, second generation, whatever you want to call it. It's the new DX7 basically. Now, I don't do many videos about this kind of thing, but I have watched a couple of reviews on this and I was a bit sort of sceptical about them because they I don't think they're 100% accurate, so I thought I'll give my opinion, and it is only my opinion, but I've bought this with my own money. It's not been given to me or anything like that. I'm not sponsored. So I've got 25 years of experience. I use Spektrum radios, I use Futaba radios, I use high-tech radios, I even use Sanwa radio. I currently have the old DX7 and that's performed absolutely faultlessly. I've never had a single issue with that, and that's just on DSM2, but I do like the idea of the moving forward, and the DSMX is a better system, so I thought, yeah, I'll go for it. And there's a happy sort of accident as well with regards to the trainer function, which I didn't realise. The wireless trainer facility will work with my old DX7, so I can keep that and use that as a trainer facility, because I always have two of each radio. I've got a Futaba T10 CP as well, and a Field Force 6, I think. So I'm just going to run through a few of the specs, because that's what this system is all about, in my opinion. The actual radio itself, I'm not 100% on the quality of it, compared with the DX7 and my Futaba, but this is all about the specs. Comes with a 2000 milliamp Li-ion battery built in, which is great. You've got tons of different wing types for airplanes, helicopters and sailplanes, and Spektrum has one of the best systems for setting up your wings, and it's very visual. It's like one servo, two ailerons, two servo, two ailerons, four servos on two ailerons, flaps, and it's just so simple the way you set it up. It's unbelievable, so that's absolutely great. Built in, this is not on an SD card, a built-in 250 model memory. Who's ever going to use more than that? It's got the wireless trainer, telemetry support, backlit LCD, all your timers. You've got, obviously you can mode change it, 1, 2, 3 or 4. I have to change mine to mode 1, and I'll tell you something interesting about that. So, you know, basic specs, pretty good. So I'm just going to do a unboxing, and there it is. That's the new DX7, and I'll just put it beside the old DX7, which essentially is a JR body with Spektrum innards, and in my opinion, the actual body, gimbals, the feel of it, and the shape of the old DX7 is better than the new DX7. However, I do like the rubber sections on the new one. So these gimbals are definitely better than these ones, but I paid £100 for this, because you can buy it with the receiver for about £160, £170, but I got it just on its own, £100. It's a no-brainer for what you get for your money. So there you go. Problem with the old, you know, this all works absolutely perfect, but my issue with when you're using planes or helicopters with AS3X, you need some 3-position switches, and this only has one, which is a flight mode switch, and it doesn't really work as a 3-position switch. All the others are 2-position switches. So whilst I like some of the features like these little hover pitch and things, it hasn't got the functionality that I need. So pop that back in there. On this one, we've got 3-position switch, 3-position switch, 3-position switch, 3-position switch, 3-position switch, and then the back to a 2-position. I would have liked one of these to be a sprung-loaded switch, and I might swap that at some point. But there is technically there's an on-off button as well, which you can use, and you can set up any number of these things to do anything. They're not assigned to anything at the moment. So if you want your gear to be this switch or this knob, you can do it, or that button. It's up to you. And talking of that, one of the great features, and these are the things I like because they're things that you use on a regular basis. When you're setting up a plane, say you want to assign this switch to something, you highlight the box and then you flick the switch and it assigns that switch. You don't have to go, oh hang on, that's switch G, so I'll scroll through and choose switch G. You just go, highlight the thing, press the switch and it chooses that switch. Press again and you've selected it. Absolutely great. Now, as you can see, I've mode changed this to mode 1, and when I did it, there was a slight issue with on one of the gimbals where when you mode changed it, there was just a little lever and a spring which was rubbing at the bottom of the throw on the throttle, and it was a little bit annoying. But I have managed to get around it, but it wasn't 100% ideal. And what I've done with this, I normally have a smooth throttle on my Spektrum because that's where I fly my helis, but what I've done is I've got the smooth throttle activated, but then I've wound down the rough one slightly, so it just gives me a very slight sort of roughness to the throttle, and you know, it's set up now how I like it. I'm not as keen as this in the hand as the DX7. It doesn't really fit my hand shape as well, but I do like the rubberised bits here, here and here. All very nice, and it is something that I reckon I'll get used to. It's basically the same as the DX6, which I've had as well, and I quite like. The actual sticks themselves are lovely, nice. I like these, nice spiky, and they're spiky on the top, spiky on the edges, and nicely knurled, so that's good. Okay, so just turn it on, and when you turn it on, it takes a few seconds to boot up. And I've got a warning throttle high. It's got voice alerts, which are great. So I'll just pull that down and it will now actually activate. And when it goes orange here, then you know you've got RF, so you've actually got a signal. Lovely display, backlit. Gives you lots of information there, your trims, your model, that you're on DSMX. You can change the icon from a couple of different planes, a helicopter, a quadcopter and a glider, so that's quite nice. Got my name on it. And that's about it. You've got your transmitter voltage, and also that if you press the button that will change to volume. You can, if you're using telemetry, you can slide across to another telemetry page, but I haven't got telemetry. I actually don't really have any need for it at the moment, or interest in it, to be fair. But you know, it's got the telemetry functionality if you need it. So that's really good. Now, one thing I just would like to point out, this is an EU version, and if you've got an EU version and a later EU version, it will not bind with a DSM2 receiver, and I have tested it. It will only bind with a DSMX. Now, so if you've got, you know, 10 models and every single one's got DSM2 receivers in, this is not the radio for you, I'm afraid, because you're going to have to change all your receivers. Now, I've got a couple of receivers, but because my old Spektrum DX7 is working fine, I just keep that as a trainer and to use with a couple of models that I've just got. I think I've got one heli and one little plane with DSM2 receivers in. The rest of them I've already changed to either Lemon DSMX or Spektrum DSMX. So for me it's no problem, but I do understand that will be a problem for some people. Very simple system, and I do like this new rubberised dial here. To get into the menus, you just press it once and then it's just a scroll and a press to do everything. Absolutely fine. When you go into the setup system, it actually switches off the RF as like a safety feature, which is quite nice. And that's where you can set up all your your new models and things, and you've got your bind and your trainer function in there. And the trainer function is great. You know, this wireless trainer system, I just bind that transmitter to that one, set it all up, and that's fantastic. That will remember it on that model that you've got it set up as a trainer, and you can wirelessly do training. It's just a brilliant system. I think Futaba have missed a trick there on the wireless system. So that's great. What else? Some really high-end features. Well, I think the high-end features that this has is when you go into, let's just go back. When you go into the Servo setup screen, this is really interesting. So the first screen that comes up is your travel adjust. The second is subtrims, then reverse, then speed, and then something called balance. And it's nice that your servo settings, so when you're setting up a new plane, are all in the same sort of, it flows really nicely when you're setting up, and then you go down to the next one, which is dual rates and exponential, so it just all flows really nicely. Now, this last one, which says balance, basically what that's for is to balance multiple servos on one item. So say for instance you've got big 100cc plane, and you've got 2 servos running each aileron and 2 piggyback servos running the rudder, you can fine tune them so that they don't bind, which I think is, that is a feature that you would generally see on a high-end radio, and they've managed to put it into the DX7. I mean, really, this has got all the facilities you'd ever need. It's only 7 channels. So if you only ever need 7 channels, and I've never needed more, it's a great radio for, in my opinion, such a small amount of money. £100. This is like a brand new system. It's absolutely fantastic. The voice functions are really good. Not sure if you actually picked that up, but that said low rates, mid rates, high rates, and then I've got that one's not set. Flapperons, throttle cut off, low rates, high rates. Then I've got flat position, landing mode. So when you set up a plane, if you go back to that plane, I haven't flown it for a while, and you quickly want to find out, well, which was me throttle cut? Oh yeah, it's that one. Brilliant. So you don't have to look at anything, you just go like that, it tells you what it's doing, and obviously when you're flying and you flick a switch, you get a voice to tell you actually what it's doing. And you can have that on or off, and there's tons of different voices you can choose, voice commands that you can choose as well. Just another little niggle, and I'll just go back to where they say, these are really high quality gimbals. This gimbal here does not centre. And I have tried adjusting it, and you can't. You can adjust the tension, but I cannot bring that down to centre, and that is off by probably ½ a millimetre. And it has no effect on flying or anything like that. It's just aesthetically, to me, that is annoying, and that's it. It really has no issue. But if you put the throttle stick dead centre, you can see that this stick is slightly off. Now, I could take it to bits, more so than I have already, and see if I can adjust that, but I've just tried adjusting it as best I can, and I've not been able to do it. I did it while I was mode changing it. I tried to adjust it, but I couldn't get that absolutely in line with the little mark there. I say it doesn't cause any issues at all. For me, it's just like a little niggly thing that I pick up on. As I said, the only other thing is I would have liked a sprung switch at the back here for me trainer function. I can't use this as a trainer button, because that's the only sort of push and release button, which is what you would use, but then I can't control the plane and have my finger on that button. So the way I'm going to do training is have it on a switch at the back, and then if I need to take control, I can just flick it off. You can also set this up in the trainer mode so that even if you don't release the switch, you just, as soon as you touch your sticks, you take control. But I don't like that, because I tend to fly the landing and then let go of the stick when I need to take over control. But so a couple of little niggly things, but overall I think it's an absolutely fantastic radio, and it is great value for money. Even if you buy the full kit, it comes with a nice receiver, it comes with the charger, a little bind plug and a strap, so it is really good value for money, this. And as I say, if you want all the features of a DX18 pretty much, but you only need 6 or 7 channels, this is a fantastic radio, and it's a nice little step up from the DX6. So there you go. This is my initial review of the Spektrum DX7, and definitely a keeper, and I will be using this for many years, I suspect. This has been GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. I'll see you soon. Bye.